And welcome inside the Backstage Pass. Of course, always a busy day here with a slew of shows for the week here. And hard to believe it's a couple of weeks now, or a week out from Halloween here, 2023, as we're presented by our friends over at Bangtail Whiskey. And of course, out there, Honky Tonk, Texas. And of course, this episode presented by our Texas country artist, SandeeJuneMusic.com from those very own studios. And Sandee's new music, we'll talk about that during break today. But pleased to welcome in a guy that I've been listening to for the past 2 decades, the youngest male singer inducted into the Grand Ole Opry, Mr. Josh Turner, here to the program. Josh, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. How are you?
Hey, man, just doing good. And hey, beautiful day outside. And I woke up to Texas this morning, 46 degrees in Texas. We never see that down here.
Yeah. It's winter time's coming. So
Sure is. Winter's approaching early, about as bad as the heat was this summer. Hey, tell me all about this. You guys are on tour. Y'all are really killing it out there. I've seen a lot of videos too. The Greatest Hits album just came out September 8th. Talk about just to remake a lot of these songs, put these songs back, which are timeless classics on a record now that you guys can be happy about and promote out there on a tour. I know it's been a great response from the fans so far. Tell me about the making of this album and just how good it is to get these songs back into the hands of your fans.
the making of it was pretty easy. I mean, it's just it was just kind of a group effort deciding on what songs to put on there, and I kind of went back and found a photo shoot that we didn't really use a lot of photos from, that was from pretty recently, and I thought was really good and really, kind of fit that greatest hits vibe. And so we kind of used that. So the making of it was pretty easy.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we're releasing a greatest hits record on me is kind of the bigger deal, because, I've told a lot of people that, when you move to Nashville, like, that's not the thing you think about immediately. You think about getting a record deal, you think about establishing yourself, you think about having that first hit, and
Mm-hmm.
and just trying to create a fan base and all of these things that you kind of have to do in the beginning. But then after a while, you're like, I hope I can get to that place where I can release a greatest hits record,
Mm-hmm.
and having a label that believes in you enough and that is willing to stand by you for long enough to where you can actually release a greatest hits record. That's a pretty dang big accomplishment in my eyes, because I've always wanted longevity in this
Mm-hmm.
business. I've always wanted to be around for a long time. And a friend of mine in the business years ago told me, Josh, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So, you just have to focus on one day at a time, one show at a time, one record at a time. And before long, you kind of look back in the rear view and like, wow, look at all I
Mm-hmm.
was able to do. So that's kind of how it happened.
Talk to me about that Grand Ole Opry, because I mean, again, to be inducted, of course, everybody's stepping on that stage. I got to go there for the first time this past March when I was visiting Nashville on business up there too, and of course during CRS we got to cover that, which was fantastic. And seeing a show anywhere in there, the lineup and the slew of artists they put on there too is like magical. Stepping in that circle, does it ever get old for you, and how much does it mean to you to step in that center circle?
No, it never gets old. It always kind of feels like the first time, when you go out there, because it's not your normal show where you have time to come in and do a sound check and you're hanging around the venue all day. But it's you show up, you do a few songs, and by the time you get warmed up and loose, it's time to leave the stage. so, um, so you kind of have to kind of psych yourself up and be ready before you go out there, because every crowd you play for there is different, and some of them are pretty lively, and then others just kind of sit on their hands and and just they're like, entertain me, you know win me over. So you never know what kind of pressure is going to be thrown your way.
I love it too because I know how instrumental so many guys growing up there, Hannah, South Carolina, too. Great sound, great town full of just country greats and just country music out there too. You know that sound, that rich baritone kind of feeling. Ernest Tubb, tell me about those singers back then, 70s, 80s artists, and then your relationship with the great Randy Travis. And I've had Randy here on the show. His wife, they're lovely, great people. Just what that means to you and having that longevity in the business, and then looking at a guy like Randy Travis, who's an icon in this industry.
Yeah, I've always kind of considered myself a country music historian. I've always admired the history of our genre and where it came from, and I care about where it's going.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people my age and younger, they don't really know a whole lot about people like Red Foley and Ernest Tubb and even Hank Williams. You know, I'm a huge Ernest Tubb fan, Hank Williams, you know, all of those guys from back in those days. And there's just there was an innocence and a simplicity about the music that they made back then. You know, Kitty Wells, you know, that whole era. And then, you know, the music started to progress because it did at a time kind of get to where it was the song started sounding very similar. They started sounding the same over and over again, and the production and all that. And so it took people like Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings and even Don Gibson. And, you know, speaking of Ernest Tubb, you know, Ernest Tubb was one of the guys that really kind of made it acceptable to have electric guitars on the Opry stage. You know, before that it was frowned upon, but the electric guitar was a big part of Ernest Tubb's sound. And so and he also was extremely instrumental. He spearheaded the movement to change it from being called hillbilly music to country and western, because a lot of people that he knew, they knew that people started using that term hillbilly as a derogatory term. And so he wanted to get away from that and call it country and western, and he accomplished that. And so eventually, somewhere along the line, we dropped western, and now it's just country. You know, but I tell people all the time, it's like, hey, if I don't want to hear you say that you don't like country music, because and my response is, if you say that, you're showing your ignorance because you haven't listened long enough. Because I can assure you that there are so many subgenres and facets of country music itself that if you listen long enough, you're going to find an artist that you like, you're going to find a style that you like, you're going to find songs that you like. So you can't sit there and just put a blanket statement on it and say I don't like country music, because there's been so many people that have contributed to that art form over the years and decades that you know, it's impossible for you to sit there and say you don't like any of it. You know, you're from a different planet if you say that.
No doubt too. Hey, when you look back at a song like Long Black Train, you know, went platinum, top 20 country hit, of course, and just definitely Johnny Cash kind of feel to it too. And then of all your hits out there too, when you look back and people say look back on a body of work and a catalog of songs and the memories that come from that too. And of course, you're right about going to Nashville. It's sometimes I say a 10-year town, or sometimes even longer than that too. When you look back on it, kind of the best memories that come to mind when you first heard those songs hit country radio. What did that feel, the emotions and everything that went through you?
I don't know if you can put it into words. You know, it was something that I had been dreaming about and fantasizing about for so long, and I had listened to the American Country Countdown every Sunday. You know, Bob Kingsley, and it wasn't just so much the countdown as it was the interviews that he would do with all the artists, and they would tell these interesting stories about their life or their, you know, their road to Nashville. And I heard all these stories from so many different artists that I could relate to. It's like, man, if they can make it, I can make it, because they came from little small places, little dots on the map, you know, just like I'm from. And Randy Travis was one of those. You know, his first album, Storms of Life, that album cover, it just screamed like this guy could be living down the road from me. You know, he was in front of an old country store, these old timers sitting out front with an old dog and a beat up pickup truck, and he just looked like the boy next door. And I'm like, man, you know, and I knew he was from North Carolina. I'm from South Carolina, so it was just that kind of added fuel to the fire, so to speak. I was like, man, you know, if he can get there, then I have a chance.
No doubt too. We'll take a quick time out for our sponsors here. Of course, our Texas Country Artist sponsoring Josh Turner today, Miss Sandee June from the SandeeJuneMusic.com studios. We'll hear about her latest single. Also, our friends at Banked Hill Whiskey. More with Josh Turner here. We'll talk more about some of the great songs, and who knows where the conversation will take us here on the Backstage Pass, powered by the Sports Guys Podcast.com and also internet radio, HighTideCountry.net. And another announcement, as we're actually headed to Major FM Country Radio for the Backstage Pass. Looks like in New Mexico and Colorado. More with Josh Turner here on the Backstage Pass, a timeout presented by our friends over at SandeeJuneMusic.com. We'll come in right back. Stay tuned.
The bangtail pour is comprised of a sweet corn mash base. The front has a subtle sweetness and not too sharp. It has notes of a medium char or white oak for a smoky flavor in the middle, and the tail has a super smooth and warm finish.
The follow-up from Sandee June's Trouble Train single is out now. The new single from Sandee June, Whiskey Us Away.
Leave the bottle alone tonight. Let's try to make it right. Don't whiskey us away.
Whiskey Us Away from Sandee June is available everywhere. Apple Music, Amazon Music, Spotify, Pandora. And make sure to connect with Sandee online. Look up Sandee June on Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe to her YouTube channel. And online at sandeejunemusic.com.
And we are here on the Backstage Pass to talk about that single, Whiskey Us Away, with Miss Sandee June, proud presenter of the Josh Turner interview here on the Backstage Pass. Miss Sandee, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Brandon. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate that.
Well, let's talk about this follow-up single as you bring us Josh Turner here on the Backstage Pass here for a fine Tuesday. Talk about this and how excited you are to get this music out to a well group of country music fans.
Absolutely. You know, this song is it's really about the struggles of a relationship when addiction is involved. And it paints a picture of what the non-drinker feels like and how they cry out for love and attention. And I knew a good friend of mine in Cyprus, Chris Rogge Fisher, wrote the song. And she had been sending me songs for about a year. And she sent me this song and she said, okay, if you don't like this one, I give up. But I knew when I heard it, I said, I've got to record this. I love singing about things that people relate to, and I just have to feel it emotionally and relate to it myself. So I really love it, and I hope everybody else does too.
It's a fantastic song, and I want to say thank you for bringing us Josh Turner right here on the Backstage Pass
Yes.
too.
Welcome, Josh Turner.
Love it too. For more
We'll
information,
have to meet one day.
Yeah, we'll have to meet one day too. Terrific singer, songwriter. Sandee June presenting us here on the Backstage Pass, the Josh Turner interview. Check her out at sandeejunemusic.com. We'll have one final word from Sandee June Music here. Josh Turner coming right back here on the Backstage Pass. Hang tight. More to come here on the Backstage Pass at hightidecountry.net and powered by the sportsguyspodcast.com. Coming right back. More with Josh Turner presented by sandeejunemusic.com. Hang tight.
The follow-up from Sandee June's Trouble Train single is out now. The new single from Sandee June, Whiskey Us Away.
Leave the bottle alone tonight. Let's try to make it right. Don't whiskey us away.
Whiskey Us Away from Sandee June is available everywhere. Apple Music, Amazon Music, Spotify, Pandora. And make sure to connect with Sandee online. Look up Sandee June on Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe to her YouTube channel. And online at sandeejunemusic.com.
Sure, thanks to Sandee for sponsoring the interview today with the magnificent Josh Turner here on the Backstage Pass, presented by our friends over at Bangtail Whiskey and Honky Tonk Texas. Hey, I got to ask you about one. I love the gospel sound that you put out. And, of course, one with Ralph Stanley years ago that I sing every day in church and to my daughter and to family, Me and God. And how much special this song was for country music, and especially with your background loving gospel, Josh. What a magnificent song, and just something that everybody can really resonate to when they're having a rough day.
Me and God was kind of a surprise because I didn't write that for a record. I was fresh out of college. I was living in a 535 square foot apartment south of Nashville, and I wasn't really touring at the time. And I wasn't married, just literally every morning when I woke up, the first thing and the only thing I thought about was writing songs. And so it was kind of a sweet period of my life because there was a lot of interesting, honest songs that came out of that time period. And Me and God was one of them. Like I say, I didn't write it for a record. I just wanted to write a song that kind of explained how simple your relationship with the Lord can be. A lot of people can be pretty religious and ritualistic and make it more difficult than it has to be. but it's a simple thing. It's a friendship. It's a conversation throughout the day, and so that's what that song is really about. And then my manager had the idea of me putting it on my Your Man record and bringing in a few of the guys from Diamond Rio and one of my big heroes, Dr. Ralph Stanley, and so all of that came together beautifully and turned out to be a pretty cool thing. Dr. Ralph ended up singing it as his encore at Bonnaroo one year and drove the crowd crazy. And it was nominated for an ACM award that year. And then fast forward down the road several years, Darius Rucker's making his Opry debut, and one of the songs he sings is "Me and God," and so I was really floored by that and flattered. So.
No doubt, too. Hey, I love the EP back there a couple years ago, or just right there for 2022. God, Family, Country. I was talking about that with you before the show, and of course, Country State of Mind. Chris Jansen, right there too. You guys, home run, knock it out of the park. Firecracker, just another great EP and a selection of songs there. The one I wanted to get into with you was definitely the roots right there, South Carolina Low Country, because everybody just loves that song, knowing your story, kind of where you're from, and that's just what comes out of you, and you really make that clear in the tune when you sing that lyric and that verse. Talk about just that particular song, and that EP overall was fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, South Carolina Low Country is kind of interesting because I wrote that basically trying to explain a lot of things in one song. I tried to explain the fact that yes, the Low Country is a region of South Carolina. That's not exactly where I'm from. I'm actually from the PD region, but I have sung in the Low Country. But I was trying to explain that my style of music is South Carolina. It's low and it's country. So whether or not I nailed that or not, I don't know. That's up for debate. But my producer kind of appeased me and humored me on that one. But yeah, it basically tells a story about how, growing up where I did in South Carolina, working in tobacco farms and in and amongst that culture, and then not only that, but the history that comes from that region and that state, and just how all of that shaped my voice and my music and my songwriting style and all of that. That's really what that song is all about. And so it's so funny. I was out, nowhere near the South here just recently, and I had like 2 or 3 shows in a row, and I had people bringing it up. I was in Colorado, and I had one in Utah, and I had people yelling out South Carolina Low Country. Well, I made an impression on somebody.
Love that too. And then off that record, I tell you, following it too, man, just such an up tempo, one of those feel good songs where I'm going with it too. I love it because I grew up in the country, cows, horses, around my grandma and grandpa, so they used to say "reckon" all the time. And so, what you reckon? Follow that one too on that particular EP. Talk about a little backstory of that one too, because hey, every lady loves that song, right?
Yeah, that was a pretty straightforward country song. I wrote that with Ben Hayslip, and I had always had that title written down because I was like, man, you hear people say that all the time, in the country, and I've never heard a song with that title. So that really attracted me, and so we sat down that day and it just kind of fell out. It's pretty self-explanatory and pretty straightforward. But yeah, I've had people yell that one out too. I even had a person make a sign saying, "Please play What You Reckon," and they came all. I watched them. I don't know what song I was singing, but I was on stage singing. I see them coming all the way down the aisle with that sign, and they walk all the way in front of the stage, like just making sure I saw it. It was like a real live, like, ticker that you see at the bottom of your screen. But they wanted to let me know that, hey, this is our request.
Well, they got the message across, no doubt. Hey, I love the fact that, and of course, not that they went away, but we're seeing them a little bit more with collaborations coming back in the music industry. We just saw it there at the CMA Fest, the big concert they did at Nissan with all the collaborations. And you've done a number of those in your career. Obviously, Trisha Yearwood on Firecracker and a couple other songs you guys have done. Talk about just how important that is for just two great artists to get together, and the collaboration in the country music industry is very important.
That's always, an honor for me and fun. Not every song lends itself to being a duet or a collaboration, but when you find the right song and the right pairing of artists, it like I say, it's pretty gratifying being able to sing with really talented people like Trisha Yearwood, John Anderson, Randy Travis, Chris Christopherson, for crying out loud, Sonia Isaacs, Rhonda Vincent. I mean, I've been able to rub elbows with a lot of, great artists, Chris Jansen, like you mentioned, and Runaway June, Maddie and Tay, the list goes on and on. Anthony Hamilton, even outside of country music. But yeah, and there's been even more that I've done live, which is always fun. It can be kind of nerve wracking because you don't want to to embarrass yourself in front of another artist like that. But yeah, it's always fun to do that kind of stuff.
Go back to one of the best albums out there, I heard 2021, when you guys put out King Size Manger. Loved everything on there too, from just the title track itself, Angels We Have Heard on High. A terrific record, Soldier's Gift. I mean, my goodness, all these songs really touch your heart. And I know this one meant a lot to you in your career too.
Yeah, that record was a long time coming. I had gone almost 20 years, where people were saying, when's the Christmas record coming? And my stock answer was like, it's on my list of things to do. But I finally got around to having that opportunity, and that record really, yet again, that kind of surprised me, because I went into it with Randy Travis's first Christmas album, An Old Time Christmas, kind of as the template for what I wanted to do. But it turned out, to be anything but that. It turned out to be a Josh Turner Christmas record, which is what the ultimate goal is. But I just didn't know what that looked like or sounded like at first. But as the songs kind of started coming together, and as I spent time with some of these songs, I'm very careful about, especially the standards, whether it's gospel songs, Christmas songs, whatever it may be. I don't ever want to go in and just record it like it's been recorded 1,000 times. I want to be able to put my stamp on it, make sure it's new and fresh. And so, yeah, Angels We Have Heard on High, one thing that I heard was I kind of wanted to do it in the style of like the Mavericks, but not so Latin sounding, just to have that kind of energy and that rhythm. I felt like that would really kind of break that song out of where it's always been. And I feel like we accomplished that. There's a lot of interesting songs on this record. Like you mentioned, Soldier's Gift, which was the only outside original song. I've got the Melikaliki Maka Mai Ohana, which features Ho'okana, total Hawaiian Christmas song, and then you got like a bluegrassy, Christmas song, What He's Given Me, with my buddy Pat McLaughlin. And so, yeah, Joy to the World is like a musical Olympic event, between me and Rhonda Vincent. It modulates 2 or 3 times. I mean, it's just off the chart, crazy, difficult. So I'm glad I don't have to sing that this year.
Hey, back to the spiritual roots again. Talk about I Serve a Savior, because, man, we talk about this in church every week, and you hear those songs, and everybody, I love gospel music. I've just become to my near and dear, closest to my heart, from what you've done over your career to what everybody else who puts out a gospel album. I mean, God bless them, because those songs really need to be resonated and heard by the masses out there too. Talk about just how important that was to really put those lyrics out, and a very special moment for people to hear that one.
Yeah, I Serve a Savior. It just kind of had a ring to it. I had that title pop in my head one day, and I put it in my phone and just kind of held on to it. And I had written probably 80 something songs in preparation for my Deep South record. And that was the last song that I wrote, and I wrote it with my buddy Mark Narmore. He and I have written hundreds of songs over the course of 20 plus years. And so when it came time to make the I Serve a Savior record, one day I was like, you know what? I wonder if there's anything that I've written that would fit on this record. And that was the first thing I came across. And I'm like, oh man, we got to try this. And it was very different. It had a recitation in it. I don't think I've ever written a song with a recitation in it before. And so it basically just says that, hey, our purpose here on earth is to serve our Savior and our Creator. It's you can try to deny that, you can try to run from that, but that's our purpose. And unless we are striving towards that, we're gonna end up hurt. We're gonna end up lonely, and heading in the wrong direction. And so that's what that song is about. And I the thing about songs that Mark and I write, we really try to boil it down to where it's super simple, where anybody can understand it.
And that's what music's supposed to be: simple, easy, and making somebody feel something from the heart, no doubt, too. We'll take our final time out here with Josh Turner. Come back, final segment coming up here on the show on the Backstage Pass. Again, powered by the Sports Guys podcast.com and out there at HighTideCountry.net, too. And, of course, presented by our friend over there, Texas country artist, SandeeJuneMusic.com. Sandee June Music presenting Josh Turner here for us on the Backstage Pass, and our thanks to Bangtail Whiskey and, of course, Honky Tonk Texas out there. We'll come back. Final segment, rapid fire coming up here on the show. We'll ask Josh a series of funny questions and see what reactions we get here. Again, a word from Bangtail Whiskey and our friend Sandee June. Hang tight.
The Bangtail pour is comprised of a sweet corn mash base. The front has a subtle sweetness and not too sharp. It has notes of a medium char or white oak for a smoky flavor in the middle, and the tail has a super smooth and warm finish.
The follow-up from Sandee June's Trouble Train single is out now. The new single from Sandee June, Whiskey Us Away.
Leave the bottle alone tonight. Let's try to make it right. Don't whiskey us away.
Whiskey Us Away from Sandee June is available everywhere. Apple Music, Amazon Music, Spotify, Pandora. And make sure to connect with Sandee online. Look up Sandee June on Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And online at SandeeJuneMusic.com.
And we are here on the Backstage Pass to talk about that single, Whiskey Us Away, with Miss Sandee June, proud presenter of the Josh Turner interview here on the Backstage Pass. Miss Sandee, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Brandon. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate that.
Well, let's talk about this follow-up single as you bring us Josh Turner here on the Backstage Pass here for a fine Tuesday. Talk about this and how excited you are to get this music out to a well group of country music fans.
Absolutely. This song is it's really about the struggles of a relationship when addiction is involved. And it paints a picture of what the non-drinker feels like and how they cry out for love and attention. And I knew a good friend of mine in Cyprus, Chris Rogge Fisher, wrote the song. And she had been sending me songs for about a year. And she sent me this song and she said, okay, if you don't like this one, I give up. But I knew when I heard it, I said, I've got to record this. I love singing about things that people relate to. And I just have to feel it emotionally and relate to it myself. So I really love it. And I hope everybody else does too.
It's a fantastic song. And I want to say thank you for bringing us Josh Turner right here on the Backstage Pass too.
Yes. Welcome, Josh Turner.
Love it too. For more information,
we'll have to meet one day.
Yeah, we'll have to meet one day too. Terrific singer, songwriter. Sandee June presenting us here on the Backstage Pass, the Josh Turner interview. Check her out at SandeeJuneMusic.com. We'll have one final word from Sandee June Music here. Josh Turner coming right back here on the Backstage Pass. Hang tight. More to come here on the Backstage Pass at HighTideCountry.net and powered by the Sports Guys podcast.com. Coming right back. More with Josh Turner presented by SandeeJuneMusic.com. Hang tight.
The follow-up from Sandee June's Trouble Train single is out now. The new single from Sandee June, Whiskey Us Away.
Leave the bottle alone tonight. Let's try to make it right. Don't whiskey us away.
Whiskey Us Away from Sandee June is available everywhere. Apple Music, Amazon Music, Spotify, Pandora. And make sure to connect with Sandee online. Look up Sandee June on Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And online at SandeeJuneMusic.com.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass. And back here on the show, final segment with Josh Turner here, of course. You can check him out at joshturner.com. The tour's out there right now supporting the Greatest Hits record. Hey, I got to ask you about that. You guys had a beautiful guitar that you're signing and actually, pardon me, selling on your website right now, too, and definitely out there at shows and things. Tell us about this and some of the things you guys are doing to support that on the tour for the Greatest Hits album.
Yeah, the Greatest Hits, record has... Obviously, it's come out on CDs, digital. Obviously, we also released it on vinyl. We have like or album specific merchandise. We have like a little collector's box, and we have koozies, T-shirts, all kinds of stuff to kind of go along with that. So it's been pretty fun to kind of do merchandise that kind of features all of the records, and like you mentioned, the guitar. Those have always been kind of a big hit. I've been doing that, I guess, since the Deep South record, and we've had I think we've had a guitar for every record since, and I make sure I sign all of those because the fans seem to appreciate that. But yeah, we take those out on the road, and a lot of people buy them.
Well, I can tell you this: you've given me an idea to use here for my brand, so I'm going to be purchasing one of those guitars off your website to use for my Backstage Pass. I have an idea. Click as the mind just keeps rolling. So we have an idea. We might be giving away one of those guitars here from Josh Turner here on the Backstage Pass. Thanks to all of our sponsors and everybody that makes this happen too as well. Hey, a little bit of rapid fire here. When not doing music, obviously, I know you love the outdoors. There's some other things out there, but deep down in your core, what do you enjoy for hobbies when you're not doing music?
When I actually have the time to do it, I love to hunt. Whether it's deer or turkey. I also love to fish. It's funny, the older I've gotten, the less I love to clean fish. So I'm not interested like that. I used to just laugh at people and think people were stupid for doing catch and release. And there's, some people do it for a variety of reasons, but I do it because I've just gotten lazy in my old age. So I just don't want to deal with the fish. It's like, I'll catch them, throw them away. So yeah, that's what I love to do.
I love it too. All right, how much fun of all the music videos that you've done in your career? What's your favorite music video to have shot?
That's a good question. Probably Lay Low,
Okay.
which is probably not what people would think that I would choose. And the reason I chose that one is because I really feel like that song was it was a masterpiece. The video matched the musicality of it. I think it was one of the better videos that I've done. Trey Fanjoy was the director on that, and she did an incredible job. It was the first time we had ever used any kind of drones, for a music video. We had done some of that double speed kind of stuff. It's weird. For the fans out there who don't know, there's an effect that you can use in film where when you're filming it, you it's hard to understand. So they play the song twice as fast. Okay, so picture that first.
Okay.
As they're filming me, I have to sing it twice as fast. Okay, so I'm either lip syncing or singing along to the song twice as fast as it normally is. Well, then when they bring it back down to real time, I'm in time, but it looks like slow motion. And so that's one of the things that really kind of added a cool flair to that video. Like I say, we had the drone footage, we had that effect. We had the cabin that was in that video. There was rain. Obviously, it wasn't actually raining, so they had all the sprayers and all that out. So I mean, it was probably, you know, the closest thing that I've experienced to like being on a true movie set, you know, where
Mhm.
it's like we're shooting a big time movie. Like that's what it felt like.
I love that. All right, favorite places to eat in Nashville. There's so many great restaurants to choose from. I haven't experienced, but maybe a few the last couple of years I've been there with my team for CRS coverage and stuff like that. But when you like to go out to eat on the town, where do you and the family like to go?
I'm probably the worst person to ask that. I'm so not a foodie. I'm a kind of a meat and potato man, but you know, I don't know. There's a lot of good steakhouses there in Nashville. You know, I spend a lot of my time kind of down on the south end of Nashville, but
Mhm.
you know, just going to places like Stony River and, you know, places like that. So yeah, a good Mexican joint here and there. So that's all I can offer.
It's all good. I hear you on that. All right, first song. This may take some thought. It may not. First song ever to sing live on stage. What was it?
Well, it was in church.
Okay.
I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and it was called Arky Arky. It was about Noah's
Love
Ark.
that. Arky. I love that one too.
Mhm.
All right. I know there's a lot of great TV shows out there right now, streaming stuff like that. If you get to, I guess, have a day where you can catch up on a show, what are some of your favorite shows or series to catch up on?
So I'm not into a lot of the newer stuff.
Mhm.
My favorite TV show of all time is In the Heat of the Night.
Oh yeah, I love that
That says a lot about me. And my wife and I together, we like Blue Bloods. We like the reboot of Hawaii Five O, which was like 10
Yep.
seasons. They came out with the full DVD set like back
Mhm.
last Christmas, and so I bought that, and we literally just finished that all 10 seasons. We kind of binge watch on that a lot. But that and as for the whole family, we love Curse of Oak Island on the History Channel. So
A lot of those same shows you like, my friend. I'm watching up there too myself, no doubt. All right, I
yeah.
know the answer to this one, but I'm gonna let you probably tell it anyway because you kind of said it there a couple segments ago. Toppings on a Josh Turner pizza. Now I'm a carnivore. Are you right there with me? It's all meats for me.
Yeah, you know, I've evolved
Okay.
as I've gotten older. I love mellow mushroom
Yeah.
and their house special, mighty meaty. You know,
Hmm.
I throw in some jalapenos or like I think I realized here recently that probably my favorite food right now is those pepperoncini peppers.
Yeah.
You know, anybody that's been to Papa John's, like I think they kind of started that whole trend, but those pepperoncini peppers, like they are to die for me. I don't know.
Good stuff, no doubt, man. Hey, we got the same taste in food, same taste in music, same taste in food out there too. At the same time, and hey, congratulations on 20 years, and of course, still rolling out there as strong as ever. One of the greats of all time, Josh Turner here, the greatest hits album across all the digital platforms out there, wherever you buy and stream music. Make sure you go to the website, get a guitar, get some of the merch, supporting the greatest hits album, and of course, check him out at joshturner.com for a show near you out there, my friend. Look forward to catching up another time. And hey, best of luck. God bless going forward. Happy holidays to you and the Turner family. We appreciate you doing this, and come back anytime, my friend.
All same to you. I appreciate it. Thank you,
You
sir.
got it. Josh Turner here on the Backstage Pass. Our thanks to our Texas country artists for making it possible. SandeeJuneMusic.com from those studios, and for our friends over at Bangtail Whiskey and, of course, Honky Tonk Texas. We're back tomorrow on the Backstage Pass for a whole lot more. Until then, take care and God bless. We'll see you soon.